My name is Marco Ducci. I'm currently the CEO of Unifly Consulting. My background is aerospace engineering, and I started working in the aviation sector 12 years ago. At the time, I was actually dealing with space missions, but I decided I wanted to go at a lower altitude. So I joined a company that was specialized in providing support for air traffic management. And at some point, this company decided to fund a subsidiary to specialize on providing consultancy services for drone operators. And I was asked to actually manage this subsidiary and make it grow. This subsidiary was called Euro USC Italia, and I was the CEO of this company for 8 years until a few months ago. Euro USC was acquired by Unifly and changed its name into Unifly Consulting, and that's how I'm here. SORA is a methodology to assess the risk of drone operations. It actually stands for Specific Operations Risk Assessment. It was designed specifically to support UAS operators in evaluating how much risky are their operations, and depending on the risk, to identify the applicable requirements. Nowadays, SORA is implemented in several countries in the world, and it's implemented in Europe, where it's endorsed by EASA as one of the ways to demonstrate compliance to the obligation of submitting a risk assessment to obtain an authorization to fly your drone in what we call the specific category. The great thing about SORA is that it's a structured methodology that, if followed correctly, can guarantee that the operation can be conducted safely. And it's really a big innovation that allows requirements to be tailored to the risk of your operation, so that if you're doing something quite simple, you will have very few requirements, while if you want to do something more complex, then the requirements will increase, always keeping the good balance and the good level of proportionality. There are significant improvements that are introduced by SORA 2.5 compared to the previous version 2.0. And if I had to name two, I would say that the first one is the overall structure of how the methodology is described. In the 2.5, we have a clear distinction between the applicable requirements and the guidance material, which helps understanding what needs to be done and how. The other main change is in how the ground risk is assessed. The model is now quantitative in SORA 2.5 compared to the qualitative model that we had in SORA 2.0. And this brings significant advantages to the way we are assessing the risk, because we can now rely on data, such as data on population density, and use them to perfectly tailor our risk assessment to each scenario. And this is going to open up a lot of new opportunities for drone operators. So SORA 2.5 is definitely a good news. A few months ago, an operator approached us asking if we could support in getting an authorization for the deployment of 10 DJI docks along the construction site of a high-speed train. It looked very challenging at the beginning and almost impossible to get done, but we did it. And the way we did it was by proposing a step-by-step approach in which we progressively increased the complexity of the operation, asking the authority to test our capability of carrying out the operation, or that the capability of the operator to carry out the operation, before moving to the next phase. And in a few months, we were able to go from one dock operated by one pilot to 10 docks operated by one pilot once again. So I think this is a good example of a success story. One of the most common mistakes that operators do when they apply for an operation authorization is that they underestimate the complexity of the whole process. So my recommendation is always to do a very good feasibility analysis at the very beginning to understand what are the applicable requirements and whether as an operator you are capable of fulfilling them with the drone that you want to use and with your organization. Without doing this, you may realize when you are already through the process that the requirements are too demanding and you are not able to fulfill them. So in the first two sessions of the DJI webinar series, we have explored the main changes introduced by SORA 2.5 and how to apply the new methodology for operations involving DJI dogs. In the next episodes, we are gonna see how we can get operations at higher levels of risk, namely the so-called SAFE 3 approved. So we will analyze more in detail what are the applicable requirements, and we'll focus on the procedures and the lessons we have learned on how to properly access the airspace. So how to fly in restricted areas or in areas where there's other traffic and some kind of detect and avoid systems must be implemented. So stay tuned because it's gonna be interesting. The main advice I have for companies entering the drone market is to become aware of what the applicable regulations and requirements are. Because it often happened to me to encounter companies that were thinking to have developed a great product, and they soon found out that the product was not compliant with the applicable requirements, so it was basically useless. So the starting point of any business is knowing what are the rules that you need to consider to conduct that business effectively. So make sure you are aware of that, and if you need any help, of course, we are here for you.